how can ICT's systems facilitate a coordinated security response? And I'm thinking in relation to a town and their security.
So let's take a protest is happening. We know about it, it's scheduled at this time, so let's bump the threat level up for that period of time. And during that time, we're going to do a few things. Lock down the front doors. If we have a PIN pad on the card reader, we're going to switch it to card and PIN. So dual factor, a protester can't nab my badge off my neck and then go use it somewhere, right? They're going to need to know my PIN code as well.
Thanks for joining me. You know, you've obviously been leading this company for a while now, and I want to start with you know, who you are, what you do for ICT, and we'll take it from there.
Sure, yeah, okay. My name's Damon Standish. I am now president of ICT USA. I've been with ICT for, I think, 13 years, something like that. Started out in the New Zealand office, our head office, and came over here to the US in 2015, late 2015, and haven't gone back. So yeah, leading the team here that was 3 and now 30 something. You know, planning for world domination.
That's a big accomplishment.
All right.
Yeah, definitely.
Start small and we'll see where it ends up.
Awesome. Well, let's start with the future and then work our way backwards.
Sure.
That's the way I'm thinking here. So looking ahead, what are some of the emerging trends in security technology that ICT as a company is preparing for?
Yeah, so a couple of things there. The first one that probably a lot of people are thinking about is AI. AI in the context of how security people are thinking about it, I think is mostly when we're thinking about video. So detecting people and changes and whatever else and then doing something about it. I think on the physical access control side and the intrusion detection side, there's not necessarily as much thought gone into it, but I can tell you that we are thinking about it. One of the good things that we can kind of leverage is that we integrate with a lot of video platforms. And so we're starting to think now about, okay, how can we leverage those analytics on the other side to help with the intrusion detection side, things like that. On our side, it's very much about looking for behavioral changes in people, those kind of analytics where we can, you know, maybe help provide additional information that, you know, people may not normally notice on a day-to-day basis by running a report to see who's been walking around where. You know, it's much easier for us to be able to provide them with, hey, you might want to check this thing out, right? So that's something that you'll probably see that's most likely going to end up on our cloud platform, but you know, that's a little ways away yet, because it is, as I said, it's an emerging trend, right? So it's in its early stages at this point. I think the other thing is that AI kind of, in our industry, people are stuck on thinking about how it's going to work for the technology and not so much how it works for us as the manufacturer and you as the integrator, right? And so we're definitely looking at how we can use it to help with things like lightening the load on tech support, because quite often, you know, the questions that are coming in are something that can be answered from something in a manual or something in a tech note or a previous ticket even that's been solved somewhere else. So we're experimenting with that at the moment, so I would expect to see that within the next year or so. You know, as a first line of defense, we're not trying to replace our people, of course, but just trying to make people able to help themselves rather than having to rely on waiting to talk to a human, right? And then the other side of that is our development side. So I don't know if any of you guys out there know, you probably know, you can actually use things like ChatGPT to generate code for you now. So not that we're relying on, you know, Google or whoever to actually write our code, but to speed up the process of doing the repetitive stuff and the, you know, the mundane bits and pieces. Right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think I saw a little bit of that, of some of the testing on the forklift in the warehouse.
Yeah, you sure did. Yeah, I don't know, we could go take a look at that later. We can talk about it now if you like.
Yeah, I think it'll be great to show it live in person, showing how it works, and maybe even do a demo.
Absolutely. I mean, I can show you it not working, which is kind of the point, but we'll get to that.
You're locked out of it.
Right.
You didn't get your OSHA
Exactly.
cert, right?
Nope.
A little foreshadowing there.
Even if I did, I don't think Hayden would trust me on the thing. So
Yeah, I don't know. So what are your long-term goals for ICT, and how do you plan to achieve them?
growth is pretty much it in one word. We're a global company. We're relatively new to the US. We've been around for 20 years as a company, but we've been here in the US since 2012. But the first few years are really about getting certifications, UL, all of that kind of stuff. So, for us, we see a lot of opportunity up here. So what we're doing about that is rapidly growing the team. You've had a little walk around here already, and we'll, maybe we'll do a little tour here after. But we're doubling our sales team right now. Probably going to do the same thing again next year. And then behind that, of course, we've got to make sure we're keeping up with that with tech support and operations, order processing, that kind of thing. So yeah, for us, it's about focusing now on some verticals that we want to go after, that we know we're good at, that we're a good fit for, and doubling down on the sales side and just really pushing hard. So hope to see you all out there soon.
Nice. And what verticals do you find ICT really meshing well with and being a unique advantage?
Yeah, that's a good one. We're probably going to dive into this a little bit more in depth, but we've got a very, very flexible product. So it's really hard to nail it down to a particular vertical on that side of things, because we work in a lot of niche places where other products just can't provide the solution, right? We've got our coffee machine out here, right? That's access controlled. I mean, anyone can do that, but you can't necessarily do that on a calendar event or a count of how many coffees you've had this day or whatever it might be. So, it's those crazy kind of, we could do this thing if it's raining on Thursday. We need this thing to happen, right? So our system is really good at doing those out-of-box kind of, difficult solutions. So that lends itself well to things like complex door interlocking for a clean room facility, that kind of thing. And being UL listed, we're actually one of the only products out there that has a UL listed access control product that can do that level of door interlocking. So that's one. That's not really a vertical per se. What we are really going after is multifamily. We've had a lot of success there globally, and we've got some new products coming out that we can actually take a look at, which is our new wireless locking solution. We have our touchscreen entry panel, of course the base build access control, and so that ties all together into this single solution. So you have that one pane of glass that gives you everything from the front of the building through to the apartment suite. We can talk a little more in detail on that. And then the other one is our, banking, just general commercial, that kind of thing. Again, with banks, we've had a lot of success there because we've got that access control and the intrusion detection all on one platform. Perfect example for that.
Yeah, perfect integration for a bank.
Yep.
Yeah. And where are we now? Are we in the actual testing room, or is this a training room?
This is actually our training room. So for those that don't know, we are based in Denver and Colorado for our US office. And for our GX, our server-based platform, we require technicians to come here for training. Your guys have come out for this, right? And so they spend 3 whole days in the classroom. The first half of day one is the boring PowerPoint theory stuff, and then the rest of the course is all hands-on, and that's what they're doing here behind us. They're actually wiring up a complete system from scratch. Nice. They're programming it, they're testing it, they pull it apart, they do it again. They pull it apart, they do it again, and then one more time for the actual exam. So,
nice.
It's very hands-on. The exam is, again, it's hands-on. So it's can you do it, not can you answer these questions and understand what we're trying to ask you, right? Because a lot of technicians are tactile. And so our goal here really is to make sure that when the techs leave here, they're really comfortable with the product, they're quick when they get out into the field, and they're implementing the right things for the end user.
Awesome. How customizable are ICT's security solutions for different businesses that are unique?
Yep. So I kind of mentioned in the previous question that we have, well, I didn't, that we have something like 2,500 software options. And so that really does enable you to, plug things together and come up with crazy solutions for whatever problem you might have out there. Our Tier 2 training course that is also held here actually teaches the technicians how to put those things together. So we actually teach them the building blocks rather than, hey, here's how you do a lockdown, here's how you do a fire release. And so at the end of that, they come out with the ability to go, okay, we could do this thing and achieve what they're looking for. So that's what's built into the platform. But what we've always been good at thinking about is, what if we can't do that, right? There's probably someone else out there that does this thing already. We can't be, do you know the phrase, jack of all trades?
Master of none?
There you go. So we can't be that, or we don't want to be that, right? We want to be good at what we're good at, and then we can leverage the other things that, other companies that are better at other things by integrating with them. So we're big on integrations. We have a lot as far as video goes, as far as biometrics, as far as you name it. We do a whole lot of stuff. And then we have our APIs that sit outside of that. So if we don't do it ourselves and we don't do it with someone else, then hey, maybe you know someone that does things, right? And so we have these APIs available. We have a tool called DataSync as well, which is kind of halfway between an API and just something that's pretty easy to implement, which is just pulling text data from a third-party system and then using that inside our software. So that could be synchronizing users, that could be schedules, that could be planned events coming up, you name it. But the APIs, I know you've used it, so
Yeah. Yeah, we did it to integrate Rent Manager and other rent management platforms for multifamily residential, just like you mentioned. And it's a seamless pane of glass where they don't even know it's ICT. They know when we obviously install the solution and sell it to them, but the actual end users, their property managers, don't know. They're in the rent management software, they type in a site code, they type in a fob number, give it an access level, hit save, and it works.
Right.
And then we did a level of automation on top of that with ICT where if the balance is over X amount after day 10, or whatever day that you want to set, cut off their amenity access.
Oh, wow.
So that is a clever way that a lot of building owners that we work with have started enforcing and making things a little bit more inconvenient while still staying within the letter of the law. Still get access to your apartment, to the main doors, but you're not going to the pool. You don't get into the pool hall to play with your friends or something.
Right.
Amenity rooms, et cetera, whatever you might have.
It's a pretty good idea.
It's a very interesting automation. As soon as the balance goes below the threshold, you get access
Kicks back
instantly.
in.
Kicks
Yeah,
right back
there you
in.
go.
Yeah.
So how difficult was that for you?
It was relatively easy. We wrote the integration ourselves with our own developer. However, not every company can do it because you have to have a developer. You really need a developer.
Right.
You have to know how to develop the logic for yourself. So ICT made it easy for us to do it. Anybody with a developer could easily do the same, and they can integrate.
So yeah, that's a perfect example, right? So
Yeah.
we wouldn't have thought to do that necessarily, right? So yeah, I like it.
It works great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then with the full API integration, I would assume that a bank could even white label a whole interface for themselves.
We have
And
plenty
it
of,
works.
we have
A lot of
many
banking
examples.
software. They're all custom, so.
Yeah, we have an integrator in Australia. In fact, we have a number of them doing this now where they have done the same thing. Essentially, they've hidden GX behind their own, their own branding and what have you. They've cut it down to just the things that their end users need to see. And present what they want to show, right?
Yeah.
We had a school district somewhere in Texas that had a problem with, long story short, they were trying to work a solution where a coach was able to get into the gymnasium after hours, but was also held responsible to make sure the doors were closed when they were finished. And so it was a customized solution, and a bit of it was we were able to do it within our realm. And then we just integrated with their booking solution to make sure that we had the other side of it, right?
Yeah.
So there are tons of examples out there, and can tell you there's probably countless that we don't even know about, right?
Yeah.
We just don't even need to be involved.
Another one that one of our clients asked for, it's not a need to have, but a want to have, is, and it's totally possible, in their rent software, they can actually offer a room for rent, like an amenity room. So someone can, like your conference room, you book the conference room to use,
Right.
and you pay for it, or it's free, and you get access on your fob for that hour that you booked.
Right.
And as soon as that's off, your access is cut off. With the API, possible.
Yep. For sure.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It is.
So for apartment building managers, prioritizing resident safety, what unique features does ICT offer to the property management community?
Yep, great question. Multifamily being one of our core verticals, we really do have everything covered from the front door all the way through to the apartment door, everything in between. So we have our 17-inch touchscreen entry panel. It's a really nice design. The color touchscreen's really bright and looks great. Has a Mohs rating of 7, which is harder than diamond, and it essentially means that you can go to town on that thing.
Even the
and
screen?
You won't break it. Yep, even the screen.
Yeah, we've got one of them installed, and it's very robust. It's
Yep.
metal.
Right.
Yeah, there haven't been any, and they're in some questionable parts of town where people are
Right.
notoriously a little rough on
That's it.
equipments, and
Our support
works fine
guys
there.
actually had one out the back that we were using for testing, and they decided to go at it with a hammer, and they couldn't break it. So yeah,
Right.
I mean the metal on the outside scratches before the glass does. So
Wow,
it's pretty cool.
So even the screen just doesn't break.
Even the screen, yeah. It is a piece of sensitive electronics, so you've got to keep it out of the sun, right? But aside from that, yeah, vandals, just good luck.
Nice.
So that's the first bit. That is integrated with the whole platform. So if you're using GX as the front end, Protégé GX, then you're entering that user in there, and as soon as you do, that synchronizes there with the phone book inside the directory. So there's no need to be jumping between bits of software. And obviously with your integration there to Rent Manager, it's the same deal, right? So
Yeah.
as soon as that tenant is set up, then as long as we put a phone number or an apartment suite number, then it drops across to the other side. We have the mobile app that goes hand in hand with that. So not everyone's using that for tenants yet, but it's definitely an emerging trend, right? Where your tenants are going to want to use their mobile phone to get in the front door, to get into their apartment suite, and then finally to actually answer that incoming call, so they can see who it is and give them access from the mobile app. Beauty of that, it's the same kind of deal as you're talking about disabling the fob earlier. It's the same thing with the mobile credential, but actually you can pull the credential right off their phone, right? Which is this extra layer of security. The other thing is that, can I borrow your phone?
Sure.
Oh, come on, that's not the answer. The answer is hell no. So I should have started with, can I borrow your access card, right? And so the idea behind this is that people are very happy to lend their card or their wristband or whatever out to someone else, right? In the lower end communities where they've had the older card technology that's really easy to copy, copy it, give it to a friend, yeah, come on over, use the pool, that kind of thing. You are not going to borrow my phone, right? So
That is
by
true.
using that mobile
It's
credential,
less likely.
you've got this level of security because people are much more careful about their own stuff than they are about this piece of plastic that you've given them, right? So anyway, that's a little bit of a segue into the mobile credential stuff.
Nice.
Access control, so on your front door, we will have a card reader there that's going to update your credential with all the latest news. And where I'm going with this is if a tenant has been kicked out or whatever, or they've moved out, the thing's over, and we've disabled their credential, then that message actually gets written to all of the other tags as they're coming in through the front door of the parking garage or whatever. And so finally, when we end up at the apartment suite lock, it's an offline lock. It's battery powered, so it's pretty easy to get the install done, and it's a lower cost than having to run cable everywhere.
No wires to every door.
No wires to every door, right? We get the messages, of course, when the batteries are getting low, so that maintenance staff can be alerted, or if you've got the full service contract, then you just send it straight to your guys, right, to your service team, and they know, apartment suite 202 at this building needs battery replaced, right?
Yeah.
So there's that, but the message that's been written to the tag now actually propagates itself around the whole building, and so eventually that makes its way to every lock, and that person's key fob gets disabled one way or another. Yeah, makes sense?
Yeah. It's a very low tech way of making technology work.
It sounds low tech, but believe me, in the background, there's a lot of tech.
There's a lot behind it.
It's pretty cool. The other thing is that I mentioned it a little bit before, that we do intrusion detection as well. So that's essentially a burglar alarm, right? Fully integrated, so it's not a whole separate thing. It just does it out of the box. And so what we have is a little keypad, like your traditional security keypad, that acts as a full alarm panel. And you can go and put one of those in every single apartment suite. Typically, you're not going to do it for the whole building, but ground floor, first floor maybe, that are accessible from the perimeter. Then put intrusion detection in there. Now you put your motion detector up. You can put things like, I don't know, water detectors. You name it. Wire them into this standalone alarm panel, but it's not truly standalone. It's part of the main core system. So again, you've added your tenant. You've told them what apartment they're in, and now they automatically have this alarm panel that is theirs. They can go in and change their own PIN codes, disarm, issue a PIN code to their dog walker or whatever. When they move out, you just reset it. PIN codes are all gone, ready for the next person, right? So
nice.
What some apartment buildings or property developers are doing there is actually using that as an add-on sale, right? Do you want intrusion with that? It's only $10 a month, right?
Yeah.
So that's something we're seeing start to come out a little bit more. Something we've done for a very long time, but that's an added security benefit there. Yeah. But ultimately, you've got that one pane of glass, as we keep coming back to. You've got that one event report that tells you everything from who's letting people into the building to how long they're in an area to did they use the elevator, right?
Oh yeah. So elevator access control. We've done that more than a few times.
Exactly. So it truly is everything from the front door through to the apartment. Parking garage. You mentioned the amenities earlier, right? That same thing has been used in a property down in North Carolina that actually controls access to their fire pits and their gas grills out in the common area.
Really?
And so it's not so much for access control per se. It's more about knowing that we're going to enable that for an amount of time and know for sure that it got turned off, right? Who's using it is great information to have too. How frequently, how much gas are we going through? And ultimately, so it gives you the safety thing because you know it's going to get turned off. You have an event log to know when it was turned on in the first place and by who. And then over time, you get this picture of, should we put fire pits into the next one? Like, are they actually being used? Well, now you know.
Or
it's all on the
just
event
nix
report.
it.
Right.
And do tennis courts.
Right.
With
there you go.
Gate access control.
Pickleball now, I think you'll find.
You are depending on the age of the community.
Ooh, I'm going to disagree because I read the news this morning here in Colorado. There are a bunch of young people. I'm the in-between generation, apparently. There's a bunch of young people that are really into it. Yeah.
Wow, hipsters.
Hipsters. Maybe.
So, In scenarios like natural disasters or security threats, how can ICT's systems facilitate a coordinated security response? And I'm thinking in relation to a town and their security.
Okay, we actually do this in our demo. In the demo that we show, it's more in the context of a university, but it's the same kind of thing. So, we show this anywhere you see us. If you see us at ISC West or ISC East or any of the trade shows. Actually, we're going to be at Apartmentalize this year as well, a couple of the other shows there.
Nice.
So we can actually demonstrate that working. But what we've set up there is a threat level system, right? Which we've just done 3 levels. If it's in the basic level, then everything's good, everything's easy, you can get around easily. Let's say the front door out here, it's middle of the day, so it's scheduled to be unlocked. Card only to get through most of the doors, right? Everything's in that kind of low level. The interesting thing about ICT is that we can make behavioral changes to the system on the fly, right? So let's say we bump that threat level up to a medium level. And we have a little indicator on the floor plan to show what's going on there for your security operations center, that kind of thing. It can be triggered by just about anything you can come up with, right? So you could do it right off the floor plan as the operator. Got a phone call saying, hey, something's going down. You could do it as a programmed, planned event that happens at a certain time and date, right? So let's take a protest is happening. We know about it, it's scheduled at this time, so let's bump the threat level up for that period of time. And during that time, we're going to do a few things. We're going to lock down the front doors so that they're now access controlled rather than free access during that time. If we have a PIN pad on the card reader, we're going to switch it to card and PIN. So dual factor, meaning that a protester can't nab my badge off my neck and then go use it somewhere, right? Because then they're going to need to know my PIN code as well. Or we enable biometrics, or you come up with a solution, we can make it change as part of that deal.
We've done 2-factor authentication with ICT.
Right.
And then one extra digit is actually a duress code and calls the police.
Right.
Everything.
Exactly. So there's another way to trigger. You can potentially then trigger that whole scenario across the county, right? If you've got access control everywhere, then hey, make the change immediately. If someone's targeted, then maybe everyone is. So some cool things like that. If we go up to the highest threat level, then let's say now we go into full lockdown. No one's going anywhere. Every single door is locked down, except for the super users of the world, the PD, the people that need to get around in these kind of emergencies. But ultimately, single pane of glass, we're back to that whole situational awareness, right? So you've got the floor plan showing you what's going on, what's okay, what's not okay. You've got the video integration, so you can see what's happening there as well, right? Access and intrusion, we're really good at knowing exactly when something happened and exactly where it happened, and then you integrate that with the video. Now you can see what happened at the same time, right? Makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me check I didn't miss anything there, because I had some really good ideas for that one.
Yeah, that's our focus coming up pretty soon is towns. So I wanted to have a little something regarding towns, because New Britain really likes the ICT system. So we're talking about, right now we're talking about putting it into all of the fire stations now.
Gotcha.
And integrating, that into the fire station, fobbed access control. They had some interesting issues over at the fire station, so they got to lock things down a little bit.
Right, and so that's actually a really good a use case for this exact thing, right? So something happens, we change the behavior of the system, right? Because we now know people are not going to be there, for instance, right? So let's lock the doors, let's go to card and PIN now. When they're in there, we can just have card only for convenience, right? Because we know that someone is there that's meant to be there. But hey, when the building's empty, let's make some changes there.
Yeah. And the automation, when you leave, you swipe 3 times and it sets off whatever automation you want.
Right.
Shut lights off, turn lights on, etc.
Exactly.
Lock the building, turn the alarm on.
Right.
You don't even need a keypad. We've installed these where we don't even need a keypad. Somebody fobs in 3 times in the morning, They know the alarm's off. There's no typing in a PIN code and typing the wrong one.
Right.
It just works.
Yep. Makes it easy. We can actually integrate with HVAC systems as well. So in that same scenario, when you know the building's empty, then let's just lower the temperature a little bit and save some money there too. So a lot of cool things we can do there.
That's the BMS system integration,
That
right?
is, yeah.
That's through
exactly.
Serial?
No, we do pretty much everything we do as far as integrations are at an IP
Modbus.
level. Right.
Oh, got it, okay.
So our controller talks to the other controller, whatever it happens to be. So elevators, BMS integration. And yes, with BMS, it's either Modbus or it's BACnet. Typically now it's more BACnet as the more common protocol. But yeah, essentially it's just information sharing, right?
So for a facility manager that's overseeing multiple public buildings, what are some of the features that ICT could provide as a benefit to them? You know, we have some facility managers that we work with already, and we'd love to have some ideas that we can bring to them on how to best utilize ICT.
Got it, yeah. So of course there's the people management side as number one. If you have a county-wide, city-wide solution and you have one place to enter that data, then now it's so easy for staff that need to work at multiple locations, right? You've just got the one thing. Now, if we're doing access control and intrusion detection as the integrated platform, then now you've got that higher level of security, but guess what? That PIN that you've programmed for that person that has to go to place to place to place, they can use the same PIN at each location. Now, if we're worried about the security behind that being hey, everyone knows my PIN now because I let everyone else have it, we can actually set up rules around that, like password change rules, where we can say, hey, if 3 months have gone by, you got to change your PIN. Or 6 months.
Oh,
or
wow,
whatever it
really?
is. Yeah.
Okay.
And so we do everything from a single digit through to 12 digits as well. So you can have your IT team or your facility manager come up with, I don't know, it's got to be 6 digits, can't use this code, not allowed to use the last 3 codes that you've used, can't repeat the same digit 3 times in a row. So you can put these rules around it just like you can with passwords. But again, that's just the one place that you're going to do that. So, you imagine a contractor potentially that needs to go around a bunch of different sites and do some work, and if you've got traditional burglar alarm systems in there, you're either giving out PIN codes, which means you may as well not have the thing there, right? Or someone's going around with them to turn systems off, right? So this way you can issue them a PIN that's going to work everywhere for the time that they're allowed to use it, and only that time and date range, and then kill it off at the end of it, right? So there's one option. The visibility over the entire platform, again, you've got those floor plans, the event logs, everything all tied into one place. So you can really get a good sense of the entire organization, the entire city, right, where things are at. We have all sorts of sensor plugins. So imagine things like water detection, getting ahead of floods, right? Knowing about it in one location. And Security Operations Center can be seeing that stuff happen real time. Email on events, push notifications to the mobile app, so many different ways of notifying people of what's going on. And being able to do that from one place means you don't have to have all these different apps and different things for the different systems. Just gives you that one throat to choke, right? What else have we seen? I've actually got a city here in Colorado that has gone as far as integrating their fuel system. So with the same badge that they use to get into all of their buildings, they actually use that to get fuel for the city vehicles, right? So not only is it measuring who got that fuel, but how much fuel they got, how frequently that's happening.
Oh,
right?
nice.
So you can report on all that stuff too.
So we actually did that for a company that we can't name. Not a town, but it's actually a non-profit company. We can't name them, but they did it for gas pumps. Same exact use case.
Right. Yep.
Everything's just input-output out of the controllers. So it's really, you're as powerful as your software.
Right. It's just coming up with as many ideas as you can. What would make this easier for me as a director of facilities, right?
Yep.
The lockdown solution, we talked about that a little bit earlier, right? But let's say we smash that threat level right up to a full critical, like something's going down kind of thing. First off, how do we trigger that? Well, we could, again, anything you can possibly come up with. Big red mushroom button up on the wall for a panic alarm, right? We have integrations with the likes of Inovonics to use their wireless pendants, man-down detectors, cash traps for banks. You know, any of these things can trigger that situation. It could be a duress code you mentioned earlier, right? That could be used anywhere. It could be triple badge somewhere for certain people, right? So multiple ways. Once you've kicked it off, we can lock down the entire city, right? Change the color on the LEDs so everyone knows what's going on, so they're not just trying to smash their way through a door, right? It also gives them awareness of what's going on. You see those LEDs change color, and now you know, hey, we're in a lockdown. Like, ooh, okay, follow the procedures. Here's what we do. We all go downstairs, we get in this room, whatever it might be. And then what we can have is the ability to clear areas one by one. So the PD can be directed by the Security Operations Center, if you have one of them, or whoever happens to be sitting in front of the floor plan, right, and can direct them to where things are going on, and they can one by one go through doors and clear them and pull them out of lockdown.
I see.
Right. What we've actually done for a school district is, and yeah, I can't name them, but they've done something similar to this, where they've gone down to classroom level, and they've actually put card readers on the outside of every classroom. There's access control on every classroom. In a lockdown event, the teacher has two buttons up on the wall. One of them is, I need help, and the other one is, everything's good. And so when the lockdown occurs, their role is to make sure that the door wasn't propped, that it has actually locked. Do I have everyone? Yes. Are we safe? Hit the button. When they do, on the floor plan, the color of that classroom changes to green, right? Until then, it's sitting at yellow. We don't know. We haven't heard in yet. And then the other button says, okay, I need some help, right? Classroom turns red. Card reader on the outside of the door goes red. So first responders walking in see green, 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 red. Okay, that's where we've got to go. So yeah,
And that's all within ICT.
That's all within ICT. Yeah, it's pretty
powerful.
Cool. Very powerful.
Yeah, even for school districts.
Right.
Integrated with the police department, integrated with the facility manager.
Right.
At the head end headquarters, and you can see it all in one single pane of glass.
That's it.
Helpful.
Yeah.
And let's see. And so a common trend that we've seen happening recently is many towns are moving towards sustainable and energy efficient operations. How do your security solutions align with these green initiatives and building automation?
Yeah, so we got into that a little bit earlier where because the access control and intrusion has really good information about where people are, where they're likely to be, times that they're going to be somewhere. We can link in with that building management system to send that information and then allow it to make more intelligent decisions around which lights are on, what temperatures are we keeping various rooms at, right? I don't think we went too deep into it, but imagine, for a start, we've got normal office hours, right? Now, if we control the schedule from our side, then that means that we can automatically program in things like snow days. That's not so much programmed as an event, but it's something that can prevent the thing from heating up a building that's going to remain empty for the whole day, right? Yeah. Let's say something like daylight savings kicks along, right? We can control that all from the same point. Your programmed planned events, maybe we're having a company picnic next week and no one's coming in on Friday, right? It never happens for ICT, by the way, but let's say it did.
Once.
Let's say it did. We could get ahead of that and make sure we're not wasting energy, right? Secondary to that, if you have a building that's got multiple areas, then we can actually trap the user at the front door. We know who's coming in, we know where they're going, right? Or more importantly, we know where they're not going. So they're not going to the server room. Don't worry about turning the lights on in there. They're not going to the office on level 3. No one's in there yet. Don't heat it up yet. right? Just leave the lights off. So it's all about leveraging your investment and your access control to help save some money and some energy on the other side. Because it's not just about money, right?
Yeah, it's also about energy. So I would imagine if you could program that this user we know does not go to level 2, they go to level 3, you only need to turn the heating system on level 3, not level 2.
Yep, exactly, yep. Good for the planet too. And it is actually, I know you chuckle there, it is one of ICT's values. I challenge you to say this. It's a Māori word, it's kaitiakitanga.
Kaitiakitanga.
Well, pretty good.
I'm ready for my trip.
Pretty good. There you go.
Been brushing up.
Nicely done.
So what does kaitiakitanga mean?
So it's, it's essentially, it comes down to protecting the important stuff, right? And usually that's associated with the environment, right? The Māori people were thinking well forward. So it's not just about you and your family and the next generation or even the generation after that. It's about complete sustainability across the whole future, right? And so, it can mean a lot of other things, and in our values, it can mean looking after our own people, which is something we're very big on. But anyway, back to your energy management thing, it's a responsible thing to do, and it saves you money. So it's a good thing.
All positive.
Right.
And one of your core values.
One of our core values, yeah.
So what are some of your other core values here?
Ooh, that's good. Put me on the spot. Innovation is the easy one. And in fact, that's a great topic for us to dig into, I think.
Yeah.
Innovation in our world, in any tech world, is always thought of as what's the cool thing you can come out with next, right? And that is definitely part of it. And arguably one of the main reasons we put it in there as one of our core values. ICT has always been very heavy on R&D. We've got, I don't even know how many people we've got now in New Zealand, honestly. I've been out of the country for so long in the R&D field, but we have a big team down there, so we're actively developing, and that's something we've always done, right? So it's kind of built into our DNA. But innovation to me, over this part of the world, ICT doesn't do much in the way of R&D, right? Really, aside from helping out with information finding. So what does innovation mean to us? Well, it means getting better, right? As a company, which means getting more efficient, providing better service, finding better ways of doing things, right? So it's something that we kind of build into our culture here as well. So people are encouraged to not necessarily have to do something the way it's done because that's the way we've always done it. Come up with some ideas, challenge things, try new things, fail, but just learn from it. Don't fail twice.
So you're encouraging failure.
I mean, let's not put it that way, but we're not scared of it, right? You're not going to try something just because it's a crazy idea, but if you think that it may work better, then hell, why not try it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that one.
Fail fast though.
Yeah, very fast.
Yep.
What do they say? Hire fast, fire faster, right?
Yeah, I mean, that principle can be applied to just about anything, right? Yep.
That's very true.
Yep.
And as a leader, how do you motivate the team here and provoke creativity?
Yeah, so motivation is definitely a tough one. It's something that we have probably struggled with a little bit in the last year because we have had a lot of change in our company. We're growing very quickly. We are actually trying new things constantly. And so change is hard, right?
Yeah.
So navigating people through that and keeping them motivated, it actually has been a tough couple of years for us. But what I do find is that ICT has always had that kind of family-oriented business spirit to it. And I've certainly tried very hard to keep that as we've built the US team out. I think one of the key things is just treating people as people. Right? Looking them in the eye and being sincere and genuine and actually caring about them. is a good thing, and it goes a long way to help motivate people. If they know you care about them, then they're potentially willing to go a little bit extra mile for the company, to help the company out. Now,
Yeah.
you foster that team spirit as well. It's not just about me making a connection, but everyone connecting together and working for that common goal, right? So you'll find here, for instance, if we get, I don't know, maybe we get 10 crazy big orders all coming at the same time. People will drop what they're doing, stay late, pack boxes, do whatever they need, right? And me included, I'm not above packing a box, and pretty happy to do that. So if you ever receive a box and it's poorly packed and there's stuff floating around in there, it's probably me.
Got it. That's why they keep you away from the forklift, right?
Ooh, yeah. Well, that's one reason. I mean, you've seen the videos of forklifts hitting things, right?
Yeah.
And the carnage that unfolds.
Have you taken out one of the racks, though?
I've never been allowed to drive it, so.
Oh,
I don't
not
know.
even? Not
Nope.
even once?
Nope.
Not even in the parking lot?
Nope.
Oh, got to change that. Thing looks fun.
I don't know about that.
So, we covered that. What's your philosophy on leadership? Is there any unconventional wisdom that you can share, or any unconventional ideas that you might have that you apply towards that?
I struggle to actually come up with something when you mention that. I think I'm pretty boring as a leader overall. I don't really do anything too unconventional other than, treating people as people and not being afraid to roll my sleeves up. That's really the way this company has always been. I've learned that probably from my mentors over the years, and Hayden Burr, one of the owners of the company in particular. He's always had that same kind of philosophy.
Nice. How is Hayden? I guess the question, how has Hayden come to you as a mentor and helped you during your transition?
He's yelled at me a lot, talk down to me, make me feel small, that kind of thing. No, actually, he never does that. He's been a really good guy to work with, and I say work with rather than work for. ICT's always had a very flat structure, and obviously we have an org chart and we have structure, but anyone can go talk to Hayden, right? Anyone can come talk to me. So it's always been a really good environment to work in, and he's always fostered that whole, try something, does it work? Well, do something different then. Just don't do that again.
Learn from the mistakes.
Right, pretty much. Not my ideas, copied someone else.
Nothing wrong with that. Great artists, what do they say? Great artists copy, good artists copy, great artists steal.
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
Saying.
There you go.
So I'm always fascinated on how everybody gets into the position that they are in. So what brought you to this position at ICT? Where did you start, and what brought you here?
Where did I start? Okay, so it was a Sunday in September when I was born. It was a little windy outside, I remember. No, in all seriousness. Security industry, I think most people know that once you get in the security industry, you don't get out of it. So let's start with before that. My uncle was a guy that had his own business, and it was a business in kind of shipping. It was a barge company, right? So moving stuff around the Marlborough Sounds, which is a beautiful place, by the way. But he was the kind of guy that was just able to do everything. He built his own boat. He fixed things when they broke. He was just a smart dude. But he was highly motivated. He would work until the job was done. Just a really smart guy. Lots of heavy machinery around, welders, things like that. So I learned to do a lot of stuff, and as a result, I think I was always fascinated by how things work and how to make things and how to do things.
Yeah.
I put a lot down to that start there. Once I got into the security industry, it was, initially because it was a fascinating thing. I'm an old dude, so when security or access control in particular, when I got into the industry, it was absolutely mag stripe. And back in New Zealand at the time, the flavor of access control was actually made by a company that made traffic lights. And
Interesting.
it was a weird looking thing. It was, I didn't even know if it was MS-DOS. I think it was, but it was all, green screen stuff that the technician had to log into and make changes. So if you were a security director back then, you didn't do anything on the system. You called me, and I came in and did it because it was just such a complicated thing. So for me, it was really exciting, It was like the James Bond stuff. You're in there securing things, and it's technical, and there's computers involved. So I definitely got bitten by the bug, and raised up through the various things. I went through everything from installing alarms in people's homes through to commercial access and so on. A little bit of time in fire. Got into supervision, did all of these things.
Wow. So you
And
really
then
started from the bottom.
started from the you could look at it that way,
from
or
apprenticeship
Right.
to installing the equipment, and now
right.
managing the company that produces the equipment.
That's it. And I think for some of the people that are in the industry that are maybe on the tools currently, a lot of people do aspire to eventually work for a manufacturer and certainly get into management. So that's the path I chose for a little while, but somewhere in the middle it went off the rails, and I was like, you know what, I'm out. I hate this industry. And I went and flew helicopters for a few years. So that was
Really?
that was a little sidebar thing.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
It was fun. Didn't really pay the bills, and then the family came along, and so.
Great benefits.
In New Zealand, not so much, unless you're referring to
Really?
benefits as living in a very scenic, beautiful place, which was great. So ended up coming back into the industry and eventually made my way into ICT. Hayden took me on initially as a kind of, I think it was sales and support manager for the APAC region, which basically meant doing everything but R&D and production.
Really?
It was fun. It was a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it's been a great journey. But now we have this team we're building out here, and it's just really exciting to see it explode, basically, all these new people joining us, and it's a challenge for me to try and keep that vibe that we've always had, that family spirit, but really enjoying it.
I'm confident you'll be able to keep it.
Hope so.
Yeah. How does ICT balance innovation while ensuring reliability and security of its products?
Yeah, that is a very tricky thing to do, right? A lot of startups struggle with this, and on the flip side, a lot of older companies struggle on the other side, right, where they've stopped innovating, they've stopped developing, they're maybe upkeeping at best. So there's that thing in the middle where you find the perfect middle ground, but I don't think anyone's found that. We're getting closer, definitely. So on the software side, one of the approaches we take is to try and use open protocols, maybe not so much open source, but known protocols out there, standards that others are also using, because what that means is that we're now leveraging the whole planet, essentially, right?
Yeah.
The hackers in Estonia, the whatever, because these people are out there pen testing things, they're finding flaws in encryption protocols and whatever. So if we're out there, we don't have something proprietary, we have all these other people testing it, and things get found quickly, which means that when we're then able to address them, right? Excuse me. Whereas you take the approach of doing more proprietary things, and hey, you could have who knows how many security flaws sitting in there waiting to be exposed, right?
Now you have an entire security team,
Right.
opposed to other people working on reliability and security.
Right, exactly. So that's on the software side. On the, I guess as part of that, the testing of that, we actually have like an army of controllers sitting in the R&D lab in New Zealand now, and they're constantly testing the next build that's in line for release, the release candidate. We actually even have sanitized databases. So what that means is we take a real live site, but we take all of the important information out of it. So we've essentially just the configuration of how the thing works, and we run that out on this test bed so that we can be sure that we're testing as much as possible of the common scenarios before anything goes out the door. It's not to say we don't have problems, everyone does, but it's how you find them quickly and address them and deal with them, right? On the hardware side, we make our own hardware. It's all manufactured in our factory down in New Zealand. And one of the benefits of that is that we have complete control over our quality, and we have complete control over our destiny as well, right? So if we're using someone else's hardware, we're kind of limited by what they're limited to, whereas if we make our own hardware, we're able to come up with some crazy features that customers need. So anyway, that's more about on the innovation side. As far as the testing goes, you're actually about to experience this and go and see it yourself. We have a system where we test every single product that rolls off the production line. Now that might sound crazy expensive, every single thing. Wow. So how we do this is we use robots. Because testing things are incredibly boring. Yep. You take this thing, you put it on the test jig, you wait for it to finish the test, and if it passes, you put it over here, and if it fails, you put it over here. So we have robots doing that now. They don't stop for breaks, they don't have the weekend off, they don't sleep, they just work all night. So we run a bunch of products through, we stack them up, robots test them overnight. Next morning we come in and most have passed. You might have the odd one here that needs an inspection and maybe some rework or whatever. But it does mean that we have no out-of-box failures, right? Because when it went into the box, it was working.
Yeah, we've definitely noticed that. That's interesting to hear that now after the fact, because we don't notice failures out of the box.
Yep. Yeah, there you go.
From ICT.
So that's it. So it's about going as fast as you can without falling over, right? You get the speed wobbles heading down the street, that's okay, as long as you don't fall off the bike.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk about privacy concerns in security technology. How do you guys address that?
Right, so on our side, we don't have the video challenge, right? That's someone else's problem because we integrate with them. We don't do it ourselves. So, because that's one of the big ones, right? Yeah. So on our side, it's more about the personal information, the protection of that, right? So, a few things we do. Number one, all of the personal data of users is stored within a SQL database, right? Which means that the IT team can put whatever protection they want around that information. From there, everything that goes out to the field, out to the controllers, we only send out to the controllers what is absolutely necessary to go out there for the system to work. And we use 256-bit AES encryption from the server out to the controller to make sure that that information is secure from start to finish, right? It's stored on the controller encrypted as well, so basically that's the main way we look after that. But it's actually an interesting thing. It brought up a point or a flaw in a system that allowed us to come out with a solution for a company, and I probably can't say who it is, although there is a white paper on our website if you go digging for it. NERC compliance, I don't know if you've heard of that term. It's related to the protection of people's information, and it's all about making sure that only authorized people are able to access information, people's personal information, right? So let's say we have a file cabinet behind a door that has, whoever's personal records and their phone number, their address, their SSN, right? Then there's these requirements around securing that door and making sure that whoever goes in there has had the right training and knows what they're doing and is monitored and reported on and so on. So we actually built a new feature into our software, and we use it on the forklift, right?
I was just going to mention that, the forklift. We'll go back to that.
Exactly. So access control, okay, you could argue, well, we don't give the access level to that door unless you've been trained. But how many times has someone given an access level to someone else by accident, right? You can't really control that because it's human putting
Human
that
error.
in there. Right. So what we did is we put another layer on top of that, which we call compliance types, and it is all about compliance. So this could be anything from you've done your NERC training to a company induction to, I don't know, a joint certificate with some other company. In our case, a forklift operator's license and the warehouse induction. And you can have any combination of all of these things and assign them to a door or a group of doors, which we do through a profile. And what happens now is actually at the door, the controller is checking all of these things in addition to your access level. So even if you get assigned access on your card, if you're not up to date with whatever certificates are required to go into that room, it's just going to deny access to you. We actually have a cool little card reader that has a color touchscreen in it as well and is built for this exact scenario. And it will actually warn you 2 weeks out, or however long you set it, that your certificate is about to expire. And you actually have to acknowledge it before the door will open, right? So you badge your card, it says, hey, your training thing is about to expire. You hit OK, then the door unlocks.
I haven't seen that in the product catalog.
No, it's kind of on pre-release at the moment, but POA, right? So if you have a project that could utilize something like that, come and talk to us.
Nice.
But yeah, it's a really cool solution. Of course, when that event is acknowledged, now we have a record that we told you, right, for a start. And secondly, we can send off an email to your training manager or whoever else, right? So in the forklift, we don't have that fancy card reader, but we still use that function to say, hey, should you be on this thing? And should you be in the warehouse before we even let you in there, right?
Nice.
Yeah. So that's what we think about securing people's data.
Very secure. So what are the current challenges in the electronic access control industry, and how are you guys addressing them?
Yeah, I think one that is quite often overlooked is cybersecurity. And it is a very real threat now, right? The more connected we become with our devices, the more of a threat this is. So, part of our R&D team spends a lot of time on this. And, back to that earlier statement around using the open standards and things whenever we can, we're leveraging outside help, but we've got to be on our game there, right?
Yeah.
OSDP, that's definitely something that end users should be starting to look to use as much as possible. Wiegand is as old as I am. 1975 it was first released.
Original.
It's the original. It's ancient, and some buildings are still using it. Like, please stop using it.
Some new installs are using them.
Right, it's horrific. So OSDP. ICT has their own protocol for their card readers. So if our card reader is connected to our controller, then we kind of go a step above that, where we increase the encryption level a little bit. But OSDP is evolving, and we're in behind it as well as a company. Our card readers and our controllers are all OSDP verified. And I think you'll find that very soon the standard is going to catch up to where our own protocol is. But security is a big part of that. And I know some people watching this may go, well, HID had this problem. Well, sure, they did, but it's solved now. And something that we're just going to keep facing as an industry, as these cyber challenges, right?
Yeah.
So it's worth being aware of it. It doesn't mean you've got to unplug all of your controllers from the network. It just means that you've got to keep up to date with your software updates and your firmware updates, and make sure you're all over that.
So speaking about security, how is ICT susceptible to those like $20 fob duplicators you can get on eBay? You ever see one of those?
I have seen one of those, and not so far haven't seen anything that's a problem there. I'm not going to be confident enough to say, it'll never happen, because who knows, but from what I've seen so far, no. We're trying to push people as much as possible to using DesFire technology in their credentials, and at this point DesFire is not something that can be cloned, so as long as you're using that, then you're good.
Got it. And it can detect a clone, right?
So if we're talking about MyFair, that's kind of the one in the middle. It does have some flaws which can be exploited, and it is able to be copied. It's a lot harder. It's not something you can just do walking by someone, right? It actually
Not
takes
like
a little
the,
bit of time.
Like the 125.
Yeah.
Those are the ones where you're
125.
just swiping.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get really dirty, you can make a device with an antenna that blasts RF out, and I can read your card in your pocket and
Yeah.
make a copy of it. Right?
From far out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. MyFair, definitely not. Right. You've actually got to probably get hold of the card and have it for some time. Essentially, you've got to kind of brute force things to try and find a key to get in there in most cases. So it's a lot harder to do. And in some cases, we can detect that with our card readers. But honestly,
With the Deskfire.
no, with MyFair.
Oh, with
Deskfire,
MyFair as well.
you
Okay.
can't clone it, so there is nothing to.
Okay.
There's
So
nothing
nothing
to
to
detect.
check, yeah. Okay.
Exactly. So,
So
Deskfire
MyFair,
is
you
absolutely the way to go.
Got
Yeah.
it. But with MyFair, you may be able to detect it.
Yeah, and it depends on how they've cloned it. But if you take one of the cloners off Amazon or whatever, then yeah, we will absolutely. Our card reader just pretends it can't even read it.
Got it. Perfect. Is there an automation to know and set off an alert if it detects a clone?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as long as you have not used Wiegand to connect your card reader, then yes, the card reader can communicate that back
Got
to
it.
the controller, and then we can do something about it from there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And how has COVID-19 affected ICT and also, from what you've seen, the security industry as a whole?
Yep. So ICT in particular, New Zealand manufacturer, and some of you may have seen the news during COVID that New Zealand basically shut everything down. Everyone got locked in their homes. No one was getting in or out of the country. So it actually took us a couple of weeks to get government authorization as a critical business to get back to it. And when we did, we had to do things like putting up plastic curtains in the production area and all these kind of things. So it was a good response, but it did put us out of production for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. Thankfully, we treat our branch locations, and we've got our Denver office here in Warehouse. We've got one up in Toronto. We've got one, I think, 2 in Australia now. One that's just opened up in the UK. So each of those are treated as their own location. We have our own stock. We look after our own things. So, thankfully for us, we had plenty of stock here. Not so much for others, right? And actually, it ended up being an advantage for us. We were able to supply card readers. We were able to supply all sorts of things where others were struggling. We're mostly through that now, but it has definitely added cost to shipping.
So this is the beer.
This is the coffee and the beer station, yeah. So
So coffee and beer?
coffee and beer. 1, 2. If I want coffee, 2, enter. Badge my card and go ahead and pour. I'm not going to because there's no cup there.
Nice.
This beer is a little bit old, so
So we might not want.
don't wanna have that
Don't
one.
want to test that.
necessarily, yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's one example of how we can kind of leverage that system.
Is this locked?
It is not locked. That's just got the kegs inside
I
it.
see.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's the keg. That's how you keep it. Okay.
Yep. This is actually temperature controlled by Protege as well,
Temperature controlled by Protege.
because we find
Nice.
we're a lot better at doing that than this refrigerator is, and it's good to keep the beer just at the perfect temperature.
Nice. So
Yeah.
you get a temperature sensor,
We do. Yep.
and
Temperature
you
humidity
regulate
sensor in there.
the cooling unit.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Some people, including yourself, you've seen our beer tap set up at the trade shows.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we've retired that now, but it was kind of fun for a little while.
It
right?
was.
So that's kind of why we've put it here now, so we can continue to use it. Mostly it's just coffee these days, but So we have cold brew here. That's fully controlled by the axis here, and so I can,
Nice.
keep an eye on how many coffees everyone's having every day too.
Get a report.
Get a report made. Yeah.
More importantly, the report on the beer.
Right. Exactly.
And what times?
Yep.
And what is this?
Yeah, so this is our just pretty relaxed kind of demo station. This is the touchscreen entry panel that we were talking about before. Do you want to have a go at smashing it? See how you go?
I don't want to be the one to finally break it and it'll
Right.
be live on TV like a Cybertruck. So,
Right.
maybe we'll stay.
Yeah, let's not do that. I'm actually not in this list, but let's call Cade, even though it's after hours now. Let's see. he's probably driving home. He's like,
He's gonna answer
damn it.
while driving.
Hopefully not. But he is actually seeing us right now through this camera in his app.
And he can see who's calling him.
He can see who's calling. Yeah. Hey.
Would have been great if that was Kate.
Well, Kate? No, it's given up. Never mind. Yeah, so card readers, that's what the DinRail product looks like in behind the scenes. This is one of our new TSL slimline readers. At the moment, we're really only using these for the multifamily solution, because this is the card reader that's going to update your card or fob or wristband as you come through the front door or the parking garage, write all of that data onto it. These are the locks down here. So this is our full Mortise solution. This is what we call a cartridge Mortise, because the electronics all sit in behind this plate here. But you can see pretty sleek design there, and this is one of the offline battery powered locks. Batteries sit right inside here. And then we also have here our motorized deadbolt. So on the inside you've just got a thumb turn to operate. Battery sitting here, and on the outside your card reader is inside here. One of the only ones out there that has the key override as well, which a lot of multifamily like to have as a backup, right? Because invariably when the batteries run out and the warning happens and is promptly ignored, someone has to get in there at some point. Now we do have an actual battery override option on here as well, but a lot of people like to have those keys as a backup. Right?
Got it. So you also have a unit that you can plug in and power it up.
Right.
Okay.
Right. You got it.
Definitely a good failover.
Yeah, so these are good to go now. We're taking orders now. We've got a few sites out there that have just deployed these. Things are going well there.
That's great. Can we see the forklift?
Sure, why not? Let's go have a look. So our warehouse here, if someone is operating the forklift, this card reader will actually start flashing yellow so that you know that there's something going on the other side, right?
And does
Draw
it
your
let
attention
somebody
to this thing.
through?
It will not let anyone through that hasn't done the warehouse induction, right? So we're protecting them from getting run over. I'm one of those people because, you know, I'm all trustworthy out here. But it's not being used right now, so let's go. There she is, Georgia, our forklift. All right, better be quick, huh?
We got time.
We got time.
We got a little bit of time.
So this is Georgia, our forklift. I'm not joking. It's
The
actually
name
called
is
Georgia.
literally Georgia.
And she is access controlled here by ICT, and you can see the card reader in here. I am not allowed to drive, unfortunately. But when somebody who is allowed to drive comes and badges the card there, then we're going to enable the forklift. We are actually just about to implement what might be called a dead man switch or a man down function, which you should probably think of a new term for that. But essentially what it does is once it's enabled, that triggers a timer, and then the timer is reset through either badging again, or you have a push button up on the control panel here that just allows the operator to tell the system that everything's okay, they're still okay. But it also means that if they just get off the thing and walk away, that it's going to lock itself down eventually as well, so you can't have unauthorized people jumping in there afterwards.
Got it.
All of that's logged real time, so we get events off that. But this is using our compliance type feature. So this just sits in the, as far as the access level go, it just sits in with the Denver staff access. But unless you have that fork truck certification, and as long as it's current and
checked off on your profile and
right,
you're current.
then it's not going to let you use it.
Interesting. And how does this communicate back to the system?
Right, so this has a controller on board that is running all of the time, and then the controller it's connected via Ethernet to an access point, a wireless access point, and that talks back to our network from there.
Awesome. So as long as a facility has decent Wi-Fi coverage in their facility in the warehouse, which they really need for Telzon units anyway, this can work?
Well, here's the thing. The controller is actually capable of running offline. So really, it only needs to get into Wi-Fi signal at some point during the day. And when that happens, all the events get sent back to the server. Any changes that have been made to user profiles get downloaded to the controller. So it doesn't actually have to have Wi-Fi everywhere. It's just got to be able to communicate.
And it would just have
Sometimes.
it would have its stored, learned actions on it.
Yep.
And then it offloads and uploads back once
Right.
it connects back
Yep.
automatically.
That's it.
Easy.
It's pretty cool. I mean,
yeah.
this is a great use case of that feature. I mean, how many do you guys have a warehouse?
Yeah.
Huh? There you go.
We've got a warehouse. We don't have a forklift though.
Yet.
Yeah, I don't trust Christine, our office manager, to hop in one of these. She might need 5 OSHA trainings before she's allowed in that.
Are we going to edit that out?
Nope. We're gonna cut that one up and send it to her.
There you go.
That's right, Christine.
Hey, it's been great having you here.
Thank you so much.
All
I
right.
appreciate it.
Cheers.
I appreciate you taking the time with us.
Of course.
Mhm.